Hi, everybody. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce a new teacher on our site who I'm sure is not a stranger to you, but Mark Matousek has been someone I've admired for I don't know how many years. His brilliant writing, his wonderful teaching style, and finally, we have the opportunity and the privilege to have him here on Reflections Parallel as a teacher beginning April 16th. He's doing a course that I'm especially excited about because of my own work with people, and I feel like he has touched that critical part that mystifies all of us. So his course is called Nonconformity, Contradiction, and Getting Real. Mark is an expert in Emerson, so Ralph Waldo Emerson. So before I jump into the text of his course, I'm going to say that in my experience with people, and as I look at what causes suffering, anxiety, depression, stress, in this journey we're on to get to know who we are, one of the great stumbling blocks we have is that we're driven now by this impulse to become whole, but we don't actually understand what that means because we've never had this impulse in us before. This is new. This is new for us. And in becoming whole, like becoming healthy, we have this idea that somehow it's an all or nothing. Like becoming whole or becoming healthy means, and therefore there's no more suffering, or there's no more illness, or there's no more darkness, or there's no more, that it's all one thing, and that the other side just, that we've conquered everything on the other side. One of the great obstacles that we have to really look at, one of the great causes of suffering, is the struggles we have with our own contradictions in ourselves, that we can be both kind and ferociously cruel, that we can be very clear and very confused, that we can be deeply sad, but can we also be incredibly joyful, that we are a mass of contradictions. And somehow we have the idea that being a full of contradictions is a dilemma, is a crisis, but maybe that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the genius of this class Mark is offering. He goes into, like, his first session is originality and nonconformity. Nonconformity. Now, we're driven by wanting to be unique and to not conform, but why? Why? And why should we celebrate that and dive deep into that? And this is one of the um, what Mark says, and I'm going to read this because it's so good. He quotes Emerson, who says, "A clear, wise willingness to heed the whisper only you can hear." And I think that Mark's going to dive deep into that because it's such a delicious concept to go after the whisper only you can hear. And I think that that whisper leads us into trying to understand the duality in us. Why are we at times so sure of ourselves and then so confused? So absolutely certain of what we want to do, and then we blank out. And why can we never ever stop that? And maybe, as he points out and will share with you, maybe that's a mechanism we're supposed to have. Maybe that's a mechanism that goes with the nature of originality. And why nonconformity is essential to our nature. Not conforming, but being a nonconformist. And how adversity leads to fortitude and to fruition. That's just his first class. His second class is adversity and resilience. So he puts these opposites, and he goes into Emerson's sublime teachings on resilience and adversity. And he says, pain is our teacher, our guide, and an informant. Isn't that brilliant? Pain is an informant. Hardship creates character and forms the foundation of all we do. And Emerson teaches, while he sits on the cushion of advantages, he goes to sleep. When he's pushed, tormented, defeated, he has a chance to learn something. This is really describing the actual forces of life that we simply have to learn to live with, that live within us, the dualities that could drive us crazy. But what if we identified them and worked with them? In his third class, Mark does paradox and contradiction. Now, this class I'm especially excited about because I've taught for so many years that paradox is the nature of God. Paradox, things are paradoxical. What looks big is often very small. What looks small is often very big. What looks like it's insurmountable is in fact very surmountable with deep guidance in yourself. The nature of the divine is paradoxical because it's opposite the values of our physical world. And that's what makes it paradoxical. But it's also the nature of miracles that happen because they follow the mystical laws of nature, but not the physical laws of nature. And so they defy reason. And in paradox, this is what he writes, because his writing, it's so perfect. We have the hard wiring for enlightenment while our feet are planted firmly in the mud. In this third session on paradox and contradiction, we focus on paradox as a spiritual practice and contradiction, inconsistency, imperfection as the warp and woof of our divine nature. That's it. That's exactly how this internal struggle we often have, and in my experience, honestly, everyone, dealing with our contradictions, has, I think, caused so many people to have such deep suffering in themselves. Like, I want to be kind to this person. How come I'm not? I want to be able to say something supportive. How come I don't? What is that struggle? And it leads to self-loathing. It leads to thinking of yourself maybe as not a kind person. But that's the paradox, that you can be deeply kind to some people, deeply harsh to others. I know I've been that myself. I mean, I'm not talking about you. But within that paradox, we have to ask ourselves, what is this mechanism where I have the greatest capacity to love and the greatest capacity not to? This is how we discover truly what it is to become a whole being. In the last class, Mark does vitality, nature, and love. And this is what he calls the greening power of creation and what yoking to this natural force teaches us about personal growth. I really have to extend a special encouragement to take this class, because coming from my own background, working with people and their deeper struggles of becoming a whole person, of becoming healthy, of becoming loving, of getting over their fear of themselves. Why I was so thrilled with this class is because I feel like Mark has identified so much of that in going into contradiction and going into the need for originality, and yet the way of self-sabotage, the desire to become healthy and woundology. These these paradoxes that we live, that I've seen all my career, are to me part of the journey everybody should finally take and say, I'm going to look into this part of myself. So this course begins on April 16th. It's going to be 4 parts, 16th, 18th, 23rd, 25th. It's going to be online. You could register there, and you're going to love it because Mark is extraordinary. And, he is an author, and the name of his book is Writing to Awaken. He's a superb writer. He's an eloquent teacher, and he is just a dear person. So I hope you'll come join us. Thank you.